Hi, this is Mr. Smith, and this is just going over the bank statement activity. And this is for the purpose of learning about a checking account. And of course, we can do a lot of this online. And if you're good with money, maybe you always have enough in there. You're never going to worry about this kind of stuff. But remember that any mistakes that happen, even if it's the bank fault, could still end up causing you consequences. You don't want to spend more than you have in your checking account because you can get in trouble for that. You can get a penalty from the bank, and eventually, if it happens, it can be reported as a crime to a certain extent. So you want to make sure that you have your checking account in order, that it's organized, and that you know exactly what's going on with it. So any type of bank statement, of course, this is digital now, so you don't get an actual paper copy of this unless you want to. You can see a copy of the canceled checks. So these are the checks that actually went through the system. The money's already been taken out of your account, and so these are just copies of them. They've already served their purpose. So the check number is in the top right-hand corner. You can have the bank routing number and account number at the bottom. You can see the check number is also there. So anytime it asks you, for instance, for a bill payer or maybe to deposit money, if it asks for your checking account and bank number, you can find those at the bottom of your checks. Anyway, the store or retailer is going to be written there, the amount of money in numerical figure, and then written out is going to be down here just to verify that these two are the same. And then a little memo. This person, of course, is incredibly organized and meticulous. They write a memo for each of these, which is a good idea just in case you don't know exactly what the retailer is for. Maybe it has a bland name. So you see you wrote a memo to Bob's store and you have no idea what that was for. And so maybe you fill in the memo part to indicate that. And of course, your signature. And then if you were getting a check, on the reverse side is a place for you to sign to deposit the money. But you would see a bank statement like this. And this is for a fake bank, and there you can see the account number, which is also, once again, at the bottom of the checks. This is the bank routing number. This is the checking account number. And you can see the checking account number here. You can see his ending balance, the ending date of when he got the bank statement, and then the beginning balance when he first coincidentally opened the account. Otherwise, it's going to be for the beginning of the time period of the statement, which is usually monthly, and then the beginning date. And so they group it by category. So here are the deposits that occurred. He made two, the original opening the account, and then his paycheck from the lint roller factory that he works. And then the checks that he's written with the numbers and the amounts, and then the withdrawals he made at the ATM machine. Now, it's not going to have this here. It's not going to actually say that. It doesn't know what you used the money for, but we just added this in so that way you could use that information down below. And then $20 each of those times. And then the daily balance each time a transaction was made, the change in the checking account number. Now, somewhere in here, an error eventually develops and the bank actually has a wrong number. And you might say, well, that's the bank's problem. Well, no, it's your problem, because if there's less money and you end up withdrawing more than what's in there, you'll get in trouble. If there's more money in there, the bank actually has more money and you think, oh, good, I'll spend that, you'll have to give it back. You've basically stolen that money, even though it's the bank's fault. So you have to make sure that you're writing in the correct information. So we need to do this in chronological order. So we're going to start with the first thing that happens. So we're going to, where the number is, that's usually where the check goes. But let's put a little time delay here, DEP for deposit. Let's put the date as 3/16/06. And then the description of the transaction, we'll put begin checking account. And once you put in that information, you can then put in the amount. So this is a credit. And this is, if you take an accounting, this works differently than a business ledger. So some of the vocabulary is actually switched around. But we are putting in $117.93. That is the beginning balance. Now, experts will say to make this spaced out and as organized and clear for reading purposes as possible, because if you want to see, oh, how much did I spend, or where is this mistake, you need to be able to scan through your check register quickly in some situations. So they say that you should use 2 lines for each transaction. So you put the amount that is changing, so what you're taking in and putting out, And then down below, you put in the total. So there was 0 before, and we are adding in $117.93. So that is the total that is going to be in the checking account now. Then we look for the second transaction. So if we look back here, 317, 321, 322, 317. It looks like the first transaction happened on the 17th after the original balance was put in. So there's the 16th, this is the 17th. It looks like that's the next one. So he immediately went out the next day and wrote check number 225. And he did that on St. Patrick's Day, 3/17/06. And he is going to make out the check to number 225, right up here, 225, the Butterfield grocery store. He's going to make the check out to our Butterfield department store. Oops, it is a grocery store. And that's the thing you might forget. Well, maybe it's the Butterfield grocery store. Well, here's a copy of the check. It is the grocery store. It's not a department store. So that's why you have these different places to check for information. So this time, in this case, since it's a checking account, we call it debit the money that is being taken out because this is a personal checking account. And so that's $7.95. So he's taking out that money. So now we're going to subtract 117.93 minus 795. And so we'll put the total down here. The new balance is 109.98. And so that is the new money that is being put in. So as you go through, you're going to make sure that you put in all the transactions. You should have check number 226 would be next, then check number 227, then an ATM withdrawal on the 23rd of March. And you can just write ATM over here where the check number is. And then on the description, you can just write withdrawal. And on the next line, you can put a note. That would be cash for movies with Paul and Linda, because you want to be able to put in the information. So, for instance, he might put in the little memo that he had for each check just in case. So, appetizers for Aaron Party. That's something else you can write in on the line below. So you can write in write in a little note for yourself, so that way you remember exactly what the money was used for at the grocery store. Beginning balance, maybe he puts in a little note that he used cash to open up the checking account. So that just provides a little bit more detailed information. And plus, once you get this filled up, because of this spacing, it's a lot easier to read and pull out information visually. Because typically the fastest way to read isn't to go through and read every single letter or number, but it's to grab the images with your eyes. And when it's spread out like that, it helps read it a little bit quicker. But anyway, so check number 226, 227, the ATM withdrawal. Check number 228, another deposit at the lint roller factory. And then a final ATM withdrawal for another $20. And by the time you should get done, you should see that the bank is a little bit off. So once you get this filled in, you can go ahead and save it and submit it.